Welcome back, football fans, to another edition of Answer the Call podcast. I am your host, Tim Collins, and I am joined by a very special guest, Jason Colenso from Three from Deep. Let's go. Welcome in, Jason. How you doing, buddy?
Fantastic, man. Thank you for having me, Tim. Excited to be here. Excited to talk about some fantasy football, man. I've been talking tons of basketball here lately on Three from Deep, so it's nice to kind of jump over and get into some fantasy football, man. So super excited to be here, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, man, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to bless us with your presence. I'm ready to talk some fantasy football. I'm actually doing a fantasy draft over the weekend, and I got another one coming up. So maybe my league mates won't see this and steal some of my players. But I got to tell you, I did really good. I'm actually gonna tell you how I did real quick,
Go for
and
it.
you guys are gonna be shocked, okay? Because let me tell you, I robbed some people in this draft. I committed some robbery. I made some trades, and so I got Amarian Hampton at 1-2. I got Travion Henderson at 1-6. Amika at Ekbuka at 2-2. Matthew Golden fell to 2-7. I don't know. Maybe people are sleeping on him, but I took Colston Loveland at 1-7. Mason Taylor at 2-6. Bayshaw Tootin at 3-7. Kyle Williams at 4-1. Elijah Arroyo at 4-3. Xavier Restrepo at 4-4. And Pat Bryan at 4-6. So I traded away some of my veterans, got some of those rookie picks, and I think I committed some robbery. Like I feel like my team could compete next season. So
That's definitely some good pickups, but all's fair in fantasy and war. So sometimes those picks pan out, sometimes not so much. So, looks good before the season, but once you dive into the season, it's a whole nother story. It's a whole nother animal, buddy.
right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So we got our top five rankings at each position. We got quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight ends, and we're even going to provide you with some of our sleeper picks. We're going to give 5 sleeper picks each, and we are going to throw in a dart throw, a real deep sleeper pick. So we're going to get started, guys, right away in the quarterbacks, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to go 5-4 or 5-1. Yeah, we're going to go 5-4, but we're going to go 5, and then our best one will be obviously the number one ranking. Would you like to start us off, or would you like me to go ahead and do that?
It's your show, brother. Go ahead. You start us off, and I will follow your lead. Let's see what we got here.
All right. So first up is Mr. Shadir Sanders. All right, and I know what you're thinking. Why would you have him ranked in the top 5 when there's so many quarterbacks in Cleveland? Because he is a Sanders, and I think he's got that dog mentality in him. And he's kind of been talking with Tom Brady, who was a 6th round pick, and we all know how that went. And
Yeah.
Tom Brady is kind of teaching him a thing or two, kind of taking him under his wing just a little bit. And I got to tell you, I'm really excited to see how he does. I actually think he has the potential to be the QB1 week 1. So I have him as my
Oh,
fifth
week
ranked
one.
quarterback. What's up?
I said week one. Really?
Oh, yeah, he has the potential. Now, whether that happens, that's a whole different ball game. But he's like he's definitely one of my favorites, and I'm definitely rooting for him. So
Not sold on Kenny Pickett as the number one quarterback in Cleveland. He's going to beat him out. And he's going to beat the old dog Joe Flacco. I don't know.
yeah,
That's
I mean,
quarterback
Joe
room.
Flacco off the couch. I mean, come on. I mean, I hand it to the guy. He's good, but Flacco just needs to be a veteran mentor at this point. And Kenny Pickett, who couldn't start in Pittsburgh, I mean, come on now.
It'd be
And Dylan
interesting to see.
Gabriel, he's a left-handed quarterback, so nothing against the kid, but the cards are already stacked against him already. So
Gotcha. Well, my number 5, I'm going to go Quinn Ewers. When I look at the quarterbacks, especially in fantasy, these rookies, I look for the potential of being a starter. And
okay,
who Mr. Ewers is sitting behind. Tua, aka
Mm.
Mr. Shell Shock. We don't know how many more hits he's got left in him. Look, I hope he plays healthy, and I hope he has a great season because he's an unbelievable quarterback. But there's always that. Every time he gets hit, everybody winces. So if you're talking about a kid that can come in and make an instant impact, played well in Texas, he's got weapons. He's got Devon A. Chain back there. Tyreek Hill is still on that team. Jalen Waddle. So, I mean, he's got some stuff. He's got Jonnu Smith, a little nice safety valve, who is a really, really solid tight end. So Quinn Ewers, I think, can succeed in that offense. So if you're looking for somebody that has the potential to start right away as a rookie, especially lower in the draft, you could probably get him off the waiver wires. I don't think anybody's going to be kind of hunting Quinn Ewers out, but I really see him making an impact in Miami. And I think he may have the potential to start this year playing behind Tua.
I thought we were doing top 5 rankings, not sleeper picks already, because Quinn Ewers to me would be more like a sleeper pick than a top 5. But, I do like Quinn Ewers. The only thing, he had that nagging injury, and I think that's the whole reason that he fell so much, because the Quinn Ewers, in 2023 was definitely lights out and was talk of being the first quarterback taken off the board in the NFL draft, but then he had that injury. So it'll be interesting to see. I am kind of curious. They did take him. I mean, maybe it was for depth. Maybe they don't believe in Tua, which, I mean, his concussions will probably get the best of him someday. So.
Yeah, I look for that value, man. And the NFL stands for not for long. So all these players are subject to injuries, but especially in fantasy football, you're looking for kind of an impact guy that you can pull off your bench. So I got some faith in Ewers, man. I think he is, not just a sleeper, but he has the talent to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So who do you got? Number 4.
Number 4 is, well, he's he's not a starter yet, and he has a little longer to go, but I like Jalen Milroe for the Seattle Seahawks. He's got 4.3 speed. He's got a strong arm, and Sam Darnold's contract isn't guaranteed beyond this year. I mean, I know they locked him up for a 3-year deal, but they could essentially get out of this deal after this season and not really owe him a whole lot of money. Right. They drafted Jalen Milroe for a reason in the 3rd round, and I got to say, him with JSN and Tim Walker and Zach Charbonnet and the new tight end, not to mention Cooper Kupp, that'd be some great weapons to have. And, in my dynasty draft that I'm just doing over the weekend, Milroe actually fell to like the late 3rd round. So, I mean, you could probably nab him in the second round and kind of steal it from your league mates. And, maybe you have Sam Darnold, and so you can sit him right there and let, just in case something happens to Darnold, boom, you still have a starting quarterback. Now, I do want to point out that these rankings are more for Superflex and they're dynasty rankings. They're not, redraft. We're talking strictly dynasty rankings here. So keep that in mind. Jalen Milroe is a young quarterback who can sit behind Sam Darnold a year, learn the NFL, and then, he's got that strong arm, and who knows, maybe the new offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, wants to air it out in Seattle.
You never know. And he does have some talent. He's a little raw. And that's a little bit, of a sleeper pick too. I'm going to say that on there, but I think he definitely has a talent. But Sam Bradford had an amazing year last year, even though he kind of fell flat and saw some ghosts in the playoffs there for the Vikings. But I think he has the potential in Seattle to really have a great season. I don't think you can get any farther away from New York and the Ghost, so maybe that'll help him out a little bit. So my number 4, I kind of have a 2-headed monster. I got Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders, because a lot of it's going to depend on the depth chart and how these guys in Cleveland come out. So that quarterback room is a hot mess. I really wish they would put it on Hard Knocks because I would love to be in that room, a fly on the wall with all those guys in there and all those personalities. God, I would love that. That would make for some great television to have Sanders and all these other guys in there.
So I have
But
a question for you, real quick. You
go for
you
it.
listed both of them, okay?
Yes.
Gabriel and Sanders. Is it like a 1A, 1B for you, or do you see one of them being a little bit higher ranked than the other one? Like if so, like the option is there. They either take Dylan Gabriel or Shadur Sanders. Is it like a coin flip, or do you see it as one being a little bit better than the other one?
I have this as a 1A, 1B. Look, they both have talent. Gabriel, I think, is a little more mature and has been in a little more of a pro style offense. Sanders, raw talent, but is he going to be coachable? And I know we're not going to get into some of the things why he fell and personality and all that stuff, but is he going to accept being coached in some of the things that he has to work on? So I think that's going to be the tale on how they get ranked, or what are they, quarterback 2, quarterback 3, who's going to be what on the depth chart. So I have them 1A, 1B. I don't give a nod to either one of them. I think it's going to have a lot to do with who studies, who goes out there during practice, who does all this good stuff. And I'm so excited to watch this QB battle. I think this is going to be interesting, and this is definitely going to be podcast fodder throughout the offseason, all the way into the season, just to watch this stuff coming out of Cleveland to see who's going to start. But they have some weapons there. So even if they were to put one of these young quarterbacks, with Quinshawn Judikins for Jerry Jeudy, you have some guys, David Njoku. So, I mean, they have some players, and that defense, I tell you what, that's a great defense there in Cleveland that gets slept on a lot because the offense was so bad last year. So I'm excited to see who comes out of this. And in Dynasty, where you have like that taxi spot where you can kind of throw a rookie quarterback in there, grab one of these guys, because you never know who's going to slide in there and all of a sudden get thrust into the starting position. Because, as Kenny Pickett, the bar is not that high. So I have a feeling that he may last maybe a quarter or a half in the first game, and then we'll see who gets called up next. But this is going to be great television, that QB room there in Cleveland.
I'm actually gonna go ahead and call my shot right here. I'm gonna call my call, so to speak. And my call on this is Kenny Pickett doesn't make the 53-man roster.
Wow, really?
I think Shadur Sanders does. He comes in and he proves it. Obviously, Dylan Gabriel's not going anywhere, taking a 3rd-round pick. I mean, that's still pretty high,
Right.
for a quarterback in the NFL. And I think Joe Flacco was brought in because, they need some veteran leadership. You can't rely on Deshaun Watson because, for other reasons. But I think the odd man out kind of becomes Kenny Pickett because they don't really owe him anything.
Over Watson? Really? Over Watson?
Listen, so Watson will still be on the team because he'll be on the PUP list or the IR list, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So he's not going to be on the team officially. Kenny Pickett, they declined his 5th-year option, so that they don't even have belief that he could be their guy beyond this year anyway. So I think the odd man out will just turn out to be Kenny Pickett, and he'll be packing his bags and looking for another team.
That's an interesting call. I'm waiting to see that. Again, good drama for us, man. I love it.
So as Browns fans, we have been robbed since the Browns are not on Hard Knocks this season.
Oh, that would have been so great. Oh, that would have been must-see TV, man. Good stuff. All right.
Okay, so number three, we're moving right along, and Tyler Shough is my 3rd quarterback, 3rd-ranked quarterback. In the words of my buddy Will, what in the shuck is going on around here? All right? What in the shuck is going on around here? How can he be ranked so high? I mean, it's really obvious. The retirement of Derek Carr, and the Saints drafted him at 40 for a reason. Over Shadur Sanders, over Dylan Gabriel, over Quinn Ewers, over a lot of quarterbacks not named Jackson Dart and Cam Ward. So,
Right.
he was the third quarterback taken off the board. He's my third in my rankings. He goes to a team that, they're going to be airing it out because they're probably going to be behind anyway. The defense, it's good, but they tend to allow a lot of points. And for me, I just look at it as one of those that, he gets it by default because there's really no serious competition in New Orleans in that quarterback room. Let's be
Right.
real. Jake Hayner ain't it. Timu version of Spencer Rattler, he's not it. So, or the Timu version of Patrick Mahomes in Spencer Rattler is not it. So, I look for Tyler Shook to come in and shake things up and be the starting quarterback. And for obvious reasons, they took him in the second round. So Kellen Moore's the new head coach there, and we've seen what he can do with the quarterback. Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, and stuff like that. So for me, he's my third ranked quarterback, and I got to tell you, maybe he could be solid for 3 to 5 years, and then they reevaluate it. But I mean, Kellen Moore definitely brought him in for a reason, and the Saints ownership knows that the Saints are kind of in rebuild mode, and so it might take Kellen Moore a few years to turn this team around. And they seem to be very patient with Kellen Moore on that, so very good for them.
Right. And I guess great minds think alike because Shuck is number 3 on my board too. He was thrusted up there with the retirement of Carr. That just made it a little bit easier for him. I don't see him starting it all this year. I think he is a pretty raw talent. I think they're going to roll right. Look, that offense is atrocious right now. You have an aging Kamara. Tyreek Hill is still there, so you still got the gadget man, Inspector Gadget. Go Tyreek, go Hill. But your wide receiver core is a little suspect. I mean, you got Olave, and Shaheed, but after that, it kind of falls off a little bit. So why would you risk putting your potential future quarterback out there to get crushed? Throw Rattler out there, see what he can do. If he gives you a good season or a halfway decent season, you're winning because now you have your rookie quarterback learning behind somebody. But he does have the potential to start this year. That's why I have him at 3 because it's essentially a Cleveland kind of situation. You got a starting quarterback that probably won't be the starting quarterback for much longer. So your path to the promised land is a little bit easier. But I like Shuck, but I think he's not going to start this year. I think if the Saints are smart, they would sit him, give him a clipboard, learn the quarterback position, watch Spencer Rattler go out there, have an abysmal year, get yourself a top draft pick next year, and then let him start. But we'll see. This is going to be interesting. The Saints, they're going to have a lot of fighting to do in that South there because there's a lot of teams above them that got so much better in this draft. So I just don't see them risking their rookie quarterback.
What in the shuck are you talking about? He's not going to be the starting quarterback. Honestly, in the fantasy draft that I just did, I mean, honestly, he fell beyond Jalen Milroe and some of these other guys, So maybe even the fans are kind of seeing what you see there in the sense that, he's not going to be the starter this year. Maybe they don't want to be, they're not patient enough. If you're patient, if you don't need a quarterback right now, like if you have 2 good starting quarterbacks, by all means, take Shook in the second round in fantasy drafts, maybe late first round, because for me, I'm in a position where I always tend to get at least 2 quarterbacks in my super flex like pretty early. So I have my 2 starters, and then my third is just always kind of like a bye week fill in anyway. And so, I don't go looking in the draft for quarterbacks unless I just really needed one. Like maybe you had Derek Carr, so now you need a replacement. So maybe you can be patient, maybe you can't. But Shook is the third ranked quarterback, and I kind of feel like the next 2 are going to be pretty similar. I mean, just the consensus. But I have Jackson Dart as my second ranked quarterback. He could arguably be the best quarterback in this class. He has Brian Daboll at head coach for at least this season. We don't know how long Brian Dable is going to be the head coach of the New York Giants with an 18-32-1 record. I still don't know how he became the head coach and how he's became the head coach for so long. But apparently he's saying the right words and he's doing the right things to keep his job because the owner kept him and the GM around. Now they have Jackson Dart, which I have to assume he won't be the week one starter, but I have to assume that he's going to be taking over any little struggle by Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart is in that lineup. He has a strong arm. He is underratedly mobile. I mean, his mobility isn't going to blow you away, but it's definitely underrated, and he can move out of the pocket, extend the play when he needs to. He's got the playmaker in Malik Neighbors. They've got a run game. They've got a solid defense. So, I mean, it's all the makings for Jackson Dart to be great in this league, and I'm excited to see how it is. Like I said, I don't see him being week one, but he's a quarterback that's going to come in and instantly click with Malik Neighbors. My only downside is he did go to Ole Miss and under Lane Kiffin offense, and that offense tends to be a little kind of easy for quarterbacks. One read, one, two reads, and the ball's out. He's not going to have that time in the NFL, so he will definitely have to improve on that just to be that much better. But I have him as my second-ranked quarterback.
I love that pick. Look, I am a Giants fan. They call me NY over at Boom Broadcasting for a reason because I am a huge New York. I'm always in a New York state of mind. I love Jackson Dart. I loved the pick. I think he's going to be a phenomenal quarterback, but not this year. I think with Russell Wilson there, you have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Here we go again. I can't stand teams that throw rookie quarterbacks out there and hope that they're going to hit like a CJ Stroud or Jaden Daniels did last year. I want Jackson Dart to sit back and watch Russell Wilson and learn. I think he'll end up being QB2. I think he's going to beat out famous Jameis Winston for that. But sit. I think he's going to be great if you pick him up in Dynasty, throw him on your bench, let him sit there. So if he does get a start, you're going to have a phenomenal starter. But as a Giants fan, please don't start him yet. Let him learn the game of football. Let him grow as a quarterback and then put him out there next year and let's see what you got. But I think this team, the way it's built, I think Russ is going to cook this year. Brian Dable with his connection to Josh Allen. That's kind of why I think they kept him around because they want his QB magic because he might not be the best head coach, but he does do pretty good with his quarterbacks. Although we're going to ignore Danny Dimes because that's something we're just not going to talk about. I buried Danny Dimes a long time ago, but my number two, and again, I'm going with someone that can pretty much start, maybe even day one, is going to be Will Howard in Pittsburgh.
Whoa.
Will Howard in Pittsburgh has the potential to be a starter actual starter day one. You're going against Mason Rudolph. I mean, right there. You just talk about someone that might not even be on the roster when it comes out. Mason Rudolph. So he doesn't have far to go. Good 6th-round pick, and he's got DK Metcalf, Woods, Austin. He's got a great tight end in Freiermuth. He's got some good running backs. So you talk about he's got some weapons around him. So for a rookie quarterback to come in and succeed right off the bat, went to Ohio State, coming off a national championship. So if anybody can succeed, especially in fantasy, jump in as a rookie quarterback and get you points. If you need a super flex or you want to have a guy on your bench so that somebody else doesn't have him, he's the one to pick up because I think he has the clearest path to being a week one starter. Besides Cam Ward, he is going to be the next Pittsburgh Steeler starting quarterback week one.
It's really interesting that you say, so that somebody else doesn't pick him up because some of these players on my list are actually for that reason. Maybe they're not going to be as impactful for you as you need them to be, right. But having them on your team versus your opponent's team could be the difference between you competing for a championship and them competing for a championship. And at the end of the day, you want to be competing for the championship, not your opponents. And well said, Will Howard, you know, you don't want him on. Maybe there's a team out there that just needs like a quarterback here and there, and to kind of get them over that hump. Maybe they were a playoff team last year, and they take Will Howard late first round, and now you missed out. So well
Right.
said on that, Jason. And I think I mean we're gonna reveal it, but for obvious reasons, because it is our top five. But Cam Ward, top five. He's our first rank. He's my first
Yeah.
ranked. He was the first quarterback taken in the draft, and he got reunited with Xavier Restrepo, his favorite wide receiver in college, which he pushed for the team to sign him. So I look for Cam Ward to come in. I felt like they did a really good job putting the pieces around him in the NFL draft. They got some wide receivers and some tight ends for him. So I really think Cam Ward can come in and just be that dynasty quarterback that you need for the next 5-10 years. And he's a quarterback that definitely could lead to some championships, and he could also, lead other people to championships. I'm really curious though, because for obvious reasons, Ashton Genty will probably be the number one pick in fantasy football drafts. I'm kind of curious where you would take Cam Ward in like a Superflex dynasty.
That's a good question. He's definitely in, I'd say, my top 10 or 12.
Okay, so
I would put him, overall. So like if you're drafting and you're picking in that third or fourth round and you don't have a good quarterback, or you got a couple of quarterbacks, but you hear some rumblings about somebody wants Cam Ward, you pick him up. I would definitely try to grab him as early as possible, the first rookie quarterback coming off the board. I think he's better than a lot of the other quarterbacks that are starting that are not rookies. So I mean, he's in that top 10 or 12 of all 32 teams. So I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I think that's pretty high for a rookie quarterback, because I mean, he is a rookie, but I love the way he talks. He loves football. He studies football. He plays football. I think he's going to be a phenomenal football player. They brought in, Tyler Lockett. You're going to have Calvin Ridley. You got Traylon Burks, so he's got some veteran wide receivers that are going to help him out. Tony Pollard and Taj Spears. He's got some veteran presence at the running back. They help the offensive line a little bit. So I think he's going to have a successful season, and I think he's that kind of guy that can get you not only passing points, but some rushing points. Watch him closer into the red zone because he is super athletic. So he's one of those guys, a la Lamar Jackson, that can kind of make plays happen. So I think that's going to be his really selling point in picking him high in certain drafts. And I even think in standard drafts, he's a guy that you can pick up if you don't get a good quarterback, or your first quarterback is solid, but you want a solid backup. I think he's going to generate points. They got him slated for about 15 points a game, but I think he's going to earn more than that because he has some weapons around him and he has the talent to do it. So I'm excited. Cam Ward, I think he's going to be up there. Watch week 1 and week 2, how he comes out. I think people are going to want him. And then talking about these rookie quarterbacks too, guys, if you're out there and your team is a little weak in certain areas, they make great trade bait. You may have somebody, you start talking these guys up. You may have somebody that, hey, you got 3-4 quarterbacks. What are you doing with Cam Ward? Next thing you know, you can get a first round pick for next year and a starter or a top wide receiver. So, that's the nice part about, especially in the dynasty leagues, is you can use some of these high draft quarterbacks as trade bait and get you a little bit of a stronger team. So don't even think that they're just, let me just sit them on the bench and not do anything. They can provide you with points without even playing a game.
Woo! Woo! Well, guys, that wraps up the first segment, the quarterback rankings. And let us know in the comments, what you think. Whose call do you got, okay? Whose call you got? You have mine, your host, or do you have the guest, Mr. Jason Colenso? Let us know who you agree with and why. So we have running backs, we have wide receivers, we have tight ends, and we have sleepers. Holy crap.